I'm not quite sure why Hollywood has collectively decided to make Cooper Hoffman the age gap relationship movie guy, but it's quickly becoming his thing. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2026 Sundance Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2026 erotic comedy thriller, I Want Your Sex, which will be released in theaters on July 31st. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and recommendations. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and even some tailored film recommendations. So be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all that extra content. I Want Your Sex stars Olivia Wilde, Cooper Hoffman, and Mason Gooding, and was directed by Gregg Araki. It tells the story of a recent college grad who lands a job working for a provocative artist, only to be elated when she picks him to be her sexual muse. Stories about art galleries may have been an unexpected micro-theme at Sundance this year, but the premiere of an erotic thriller was anything but unexpected. Erotic thrillers are certainly nothing new, arguably having had their heyday in the late 80s and early 90s, but we've been seeing a bit of a genre resurgence over the course of the current decade. These films blend sexiness with an element of danger, often focusing on relationships with unbalanced power dynamics, boss-employee pairings, age and experience gap romances, or simply relationships between somebody with something to lose and somebody else with the knowledge and ability to make them lose it. All of this is understandably compelling, so it's no wonder the genre has retained its allure. And it's also no wonder that in the lead up to Sundance, I Want Your Sex was one of the most widely anticipated films of the festival. It has certainly got some of the classic erotic thriller trappings, but definitely skews more to the comedy side of things than most other films in the genre. This comedy is dark at times, but it's also silly and absurd at others. A sexually charged comedy of manners, with much of the humor derived from amusingly uncomfortable situational awkwardness. There's no doubt that I Want Your Sex is a fun story, entertainingly bouncing along and remaining engaging throughout its various twists and turns. It's subversive in many ways, tackling taboo topics and its theme of consent in a fresh and offbeatly toned kind of way. Although fairly tame and accessible by Gregg Araki standards, it plays around with some heavy stylization, including some animated bits, to make something very colorful and, at times, even borderline campy. The blend of sexiness, shock value, and comedy make for a fun film, and even the noir tinge to the thriller parts of this erotic thriller, with some clear allusions to Sunset Boulevard, among others, add to this unique entertainment. But despite the fun and stylistic flair, the plot was a little lacking. The core story spins its wheels a bit at times, so a framing device and associated plot contrivances are added. There's some potential there, and it definitely adds to the film's chaotic energy, but it ends up feeling too manufactured and artificially over the top, when it really didn't need to be in order to tell its story and get its points across. Ironically pairing with these overwritten plot elements are some frustratingly underwritten characters. There's some attempted depth given to them by the aforementioned plot contrivances, but this has got a lot of one-note or passively floating through the story characters that feel more like a means to a thematic end than they do the actual focus of the story. But what this film lacks in plot or character development, it makes up for in performances. There are some very comedic secondary performances by people like Mason Gooding, Chase Sweet Wonders, and Daveed Diggs, adding entertaining texture to the story during their all too occasional scenes. But as is the case with most erotic thrillers, this film really belongs to its romantic leads, with both being very well suited to their roles. Olivia Wilde captures the dominant and assertive artist Araki, blending profane with poetic and using power and celebrity to get what she wants, manipulating everybody along the way, and making most of them practically beg to be manipulated. And Cooper Hoffman believably plays Elliot, the eager, less experienced, and far less guarded people-pleaser, more than happy to willingly let himself be used. At least up to a point. Both tackle these very different characters by injecting a good deal of humor into the roles, making each interesting on their own, but even better together. They've got some genuinely strong chemistry with one another, which goes a long way towards helping to make the muse situation more believable, and the film easier to entertainingly stay on board with, even through some of its more questionable choices. It may not be the best movie when you're thinking about it the morning after, but fittingly, it sure is fun and satisfying in the moment. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. The biggest pro is definitely the performances. There are a lot of plot-based things going on in this movie, but it's still very much a performance-driven film. This movie's got some fun smaller roles, entertainingly filled by Mason Gooding, Chase Sweet Wonders, and Daveed Diggs, but like so many erotic thrillers that came before, this is really a two-person show. Cooper Hoffman is no stranger to age gap romance roles at this point, and is very entertaining here as the people-pleasing, easy-to-manipulate Elliot. And Olivia Wilde clearly has a lot of fun playing his dominating artist boss, with fittingly campy pizzazz. Despite the predatory aspect of their dynamic, both Cooper and Wilde are able to deliver on quite a bit of humor, keeping the tone bouncy. They're impressive separately, but even better together, sharing some very strong chemistry with one another and helping to bring to life this pair of characters that were pretty underdeveloped on the page. Speaking of which, con number one is just that, the underdeveloped characters. It's not that any of the characters here are bad, it's just that there's not really all that much to them, and for the most part, they don't go anywhere. Instead, they often feel more like stand-ins, there to just passively let the story happen to them. Secondary characters come and go without much story impact, with Chase Sweet Wonders feeling especially underutilized. And even the lead characters have a disappointing one-dimensionality to them, despite the illusion of a bit more depth as a result of some of the late-stage plot occurrences. Speaking of which, again, the second con is the contrived plot. This is a mostly minor issue, but was one of the things that stood out negatively as I was watching the movie, and has started to stick out more and more the longer I've thought about it. The sexual muse setup is fine. A very fictional fantasy premise, but it works for the film. The plot additions beyond that premise, however, are where this film stumbles a bit. It's an erotic comedy thriller, but leans into this noir-adjacent story and structure. I actually liked the idea of that, and could see something like that working in a different movie, but it just doesn't quite get it right here. I certainly still had a fun time with this story, and some of the bizarre places it goes, but this eventually takes a few stretching turns that end up feeling more manufactured than clever. It never goes as far as to undermine itself exactly, but it does leave you questioning the effectiveness of some of the plot decisions. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying I Want Your Sex, or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them, if you're in the market for any of these movies, or anything else. I'm gonna give I Want Your Sex 3.5 out of 5 paws. This is a sexy, stylized erotic thriller that tackles taboo topics by merging them with comedy and color. The characters are a bit underdeveloped, but the fun story and strong chemistry between Olivia Wilde and Cooper Hoffman keep this one bouncy and entertaining, even through its clumsiest plot contrivances. I would recommend I Want Your Sex to anybody looking for some offbeat, funny, and sexy entertainment. This has got some of the typical trappings of an erotic thriller, and certainly has its fair share of explicitness, but approaches its almost noir-tinged story from a much more comedic angle than is typical for the genre. A lot of the humor is derived from situational awkwardness, so it won't work for everybody, but if you're looking for some good chemistry and colorful stylization, this one might just be able to give you what you like. If you liked I Want Your Sex, I would recommend Baby Girl. Another workplace age gap erotic thriller, this stars Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson as a CEO and intern who begin an affair. With some more strong chemistry, this film is sexy but subversive, tackling its story of desire, power dynamics, consent, and sexual fantasy in an unexpectedly positive way. If you prefer to stay within Gregg Araki's filmography, you might want to check out Nowhere. Another chaotic and erotically charged film, this also focuses on manipulative relationships, but takes a much more surreal, intentionally shocking, and hyper-stylized approach. And if you like another movie featuring Cooper Hoffman in an age gap relationship, you should watch Poetic License. Maud Apatow's directorial debut, this campus comedy drama follows Leslie Mann as she audits a college English class, befriending a pair of best friends whose friendship is threatened when they begin to compete for her affection. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen I Want Your Sex? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite movie featuring an age gap romance? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.